Hello. Welcome or welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen. Happy Samhain. I am recording this actually the day of because we love someone who can get their shit together and pre-record. Couldn't be me. But you know, I'm going to chalk this up to authenticity. This is actually what I'm doing on Samhain. So the Wild Witch here on YouTube put together a series of prompts for a 13 nights of Samhain. I learned my lesson last Yule when Ivy the Occultist did the 12 days of Yule. And I can't do daily uploads. I really admire and appreciate people who can, but I'm not that witch. So I've written down the prompts for myself, and I'm going to attempt, in very classic YouTube fashion, to talk and put my makeup on. Is this going to be an exercise in multitasking, or is this going to be an exercise in doing two things badly? We will find out. I have my prompts. I was going to try and be a bit poetic or take notes or something, but alas, here we are. We're in my webcam, so if I'm looking in not the right place, I really apologise. I've tied my hair back because that's my main pet peeve of beauty gurus, is that they always have the hair in their face when they're trying to put stuff on, and that bothers me more than is reasonable. So I'm already babbling. The level of anxiety I get when I'm doing talking head videos compared to just my hands is it's quite impressive, and this is why I do the talking hands videos. So all power to people. This is just me gushing about how much I admire other people who make content on this here internet, because I can't do pre-recording, apparently. I can't do talking heads videos, apparently. And so yeah, I just think you're all amazing. And I'm very grateful that I'm in any way in community with any of you, because who in the best? Okay, so all of that babbling, what represents Samhain to me? Well, I live in Scotland. I mentioned this. I'm going to do my little booty guru thing. I made a little Scorpio palette. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I do this every month. Pick out colours and textures. And so I'm gonna do this because I'm probably just gonna throw black eyeshadow all over my face. And while that would be in keeping, it's not necessarily what I'm after, because it's still quite early in the day to be covered in black eyeshadow, I think. So yes, what does Samhain represent to me? I've already started this thought a number of times. I live in Scotland. Samhain is one of the Scottish folk festivals, so there is historical precedence here for celebrating Samhain in quite a big way. If you are Edinburgh based, or you can get to Edinburgh on Calton Hill, so it's a nice big hill in the middle of the city. You can go to the Fire Festival that's run by the Beltane Fire Society, Fire Festival Society, I can't remember, and that would be a gorgeous way to celebrate the season. In terms of symbolism of Samhain, it's the final harvest festival. So after Lunasa, which is your wheat, the equinox, which is, I don't know, in my brain it's apples, but I don't think that's in any way accurate. I just associate apples with everything. I have a cook for you. There is a really good chance apples will somehow make their way into the recipe. So yeah, I can't remember what the main harvest would be around the kind of middle to end of September. But by this kind of time of year, you've had your lot. We're into gourds, pumpkins and turnips and root vegetables and brassicas and all sorts of good stuff. But this is like winter's season. The clocks have just gone back, so it's really dark. I went to the Beltane Fire Festival in Edinburgh back in May, and because it's all like fire stuff, you kind of have to wait for the sun to go down to really get the impact. We were just like standing on a cold hill for ages. Lovely event, had a great time. It got way later than I expected it to. So if you do the Samhain one, you could probably be back in time for a nice early night because it's dark at like 4:30 now. So you could do your whole everything and like be back in time for like not even that late a dinner. I mean, I live a fair distance from Edinburgh, but if you lived in Edinburgh, you'd be grand. So yeah, like what does trying to bring it back to the question, jeez fuck Christ. What does it mean to me? Yeah, so it's like it's the dark, it's the kind of the encroaching of winter. It means it's like 6 weeks to the winter solstice, which is quite encouraging as well. Not to like wish your life away, but you know, the darkening months are tricky. I'm very aware that like everything that I talk about is like very location specific. It feels quite funny that like with the witch's wheel of the year and the kind of the Wiccan thing of it all isn't necessarily like my flavour of magic and witchcraft and stuff, but because I live where these like festivals were kind of from, I guess, you know, I grew up in Ireland. I now live in Scotland. I spent a lot of my life in England. You know, the basis for these festivals is very like at home to me. Like it's very in touch with the world around me, and so my heart really goes out for like Wiccan practitioners in places that aren't in sync with these seasons. And so I feel quite lucky that there's like this huge community of people who celebrate things that just happen to be in sync with the seasons of where I live. And you know, we know why that is, and it's not a good reason. But you know, in terms of kind of the witchcraft of it all, or the witchy community of it all, it's quite easy to lean into, even if it's like not your particular bag to be following like the wheel of the year as such. It just kind of makes sense if you live in Scotland or, you know, Britain or Ireland at large, probably central continental Europe as well. But I can't really speak to that. And also people have their own traditions in other places. What's happened to me is like winter is coming. I feel very Game of Thrones. And it's like really taking the cues to be hibernating and like really kind of hunkering down. I don't know if you can hear the wind. There's like a vent for my boiler like in there, and it's really wanting to like make itself known today. So yeah, Samhain is, I know that there's obviously a lot to do with like ancestors, and that's, you know, around the world, whether that's, you know, Central South America with tomorrow being Dia de los Muertos. Jesus, catch the English person trying to pronounce that. I apologise. And you know, lots of cultures about the place have kind of ancestral veneration holidays around here. That's like less my practice, I guess. I'm more like nature based. Is that true? Yeah. Like the spirits of the land and the plants and the animals and all of that kind of stuff, and just like taking cues from them. And while it is an absolute fucking frenzy out there with like birds trying to sort themselves out before it gets really cold, because it has been really mild here, it's yeah, the cues of like we've had some storms, so a lot of the kind of the autumn leaves have already fallen. It is starting to look very wintry, even if it's not like feeling really wintry. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this time of year. Just sort of trying to shift gears into slowing down. And like I changed all my bedding, and my fellow low energy people will know what a monumental achievement that is. And like I got all my like winter blankets out and put them all on my bed, and I haven't had to use any of them yet, but they're there and they're ready. They're ready to go when I need them. So yeah, so that's it's the changing of the seasons, really. The kind of the shifting out of the really kind of golden, ambery bit of autumn and into the bit that kind of butts up against winter. What does Samhain mean to you on a personal? Okay, so what represents Samhain to me? Changing seasons, I think is my point. What does Samhain mean to me on a personal level? I get to slow down. I get to move at a pace that is much more natural to me. I am quite a slow, or well, I don't know if I am naturally. I have to be quite a slow person because I have fuck all energy, and so I have to be really like intentional about how I spend my spoons, like my energy credits, and like be really careful with like planning my time. And it's just easier at this time of year because other people feel more like that too. I'm also like, I am quite reliant on the sun in, I suppose, kind of like a little bit of a seasonal depression kind of way, but as in when springtime comes, I'm an absolute fucking menace. Bouncing off the walls, which is really hard if you don't have much energy because it is exhausting, but it's quite fun. And so I feel it more acutely in springtime of like when my energy, such that it is, returns. But yeah, this time of year it's like the really settling into a slower pace of being, which is what baffles me about like Christmas culture, is that it's so busy. And I'm like, no. Unless you live in the southern hemisphere, in which case you have the sun and it's all like fueling you and stuff. I can't be busy at Christmas. I'm not cut out for that. I don't understand how anyone is. We're like mammals. We're supposed to be hiding in a cave somewhere, being all cozy and eating sweet fatty foods and keeping ourselves warm until the sun comes back. I don't want to be running around like travelling and I don't know, being busy. So yeah, Samhain means to me on a personal level, slow the fuck down. Get ready to take everything very slowly. What spirits do you work with during Samhain and how do you connect with them? I like with all seasons of my practice, it is mostly just the spirits of the land. And that sounds very grand, and that's kind of like the terminology that I suppose I've been given by listening to other people talk about their practice and kind of the labels that other people put on. It's quite a hard thing to really verbalize. It's a much more sort of felt sense of like, I suppose my sense of spirit and spirits is something that I find quite hard to really put into words. Ooh, poke myself in the eye. Also, really not doing a very good job of matching these up. I'd love to say it's because I'm trying to multitask, but I think this is just me. So the spirits I work with, it's just the shifting seasons really. It's the spirits of the little burbs who are back in full force in my garden, demanding to know why we haven't filled the bird feeders yet, even though it's still very mild outside. But they want to know what the fuck we're playing at. I don't know how expensive bird food is, and yeah, just kind of the land like getting ready to go to sleep, the plants. We've got some hops growing over our garden fence at the moment, and watching them kind of change colour and sort of get ready to be harvested or to fall off, or I need to figure out how one harvests hops and what one does with them and all that kind of good stuff. Probably should have done that before we planted them, but maybe I did and I just don't remember. So yeah, so those are the kinds of spirits that I work with. I would like to, I have had like a few deaths recently, and so I will probably light some candles. There's one particular one that kind of hit me quite hard because I wasn't able to go to the funeral, and so that feels a bit kind of unfinished, so I might have a bit of a moment for that this evening. I suppose also in terms of what do things mean to me on a personal level. I bloody love trick-or-treaters. I'm so here to be like the fun witch. Like, I fucked up last year because I didn't really know about the rule in terms of like people don't trick-or-treat at houses without decorations. And so I didn't put like big decorations up outside because I don't like all the not to go on like a high horse or whatever, and you know, you do whatever makes you happy, you know, joy is important, but like I hate all the shitty plastic stuff, and I don't have space to store any of it. And so like the first year that we lived in this house, I painted like a massive scene on the window because you just wash it off. It was a bitch to wash off. It was so hard and it was all smeary, and so I decided to not do that last year, and then that meant I only got one trick-or-treater and they were just wearing a little Pokemon onesie, and I loved them and they were great, but I only got one trick-or-treater and it was really sad. So this year we're back. I've got a skeleton painted on one window, I've got like a cauldron with little ghosties painted on another, I've got some bats up. It's all lovely. I need to put fairy lights up. That's what I need to do when we get to lunchtime. I'm going to go put fairy lights up, and put a sign up saying from 5 to 7 or until we run out of sweeties, trick or treat, because I need to plan that kind of thing. I don't like being interrupted when I'm eating. It makes me very frazzled, and I want to be fun, not frazzled. So yeah, I love trick-or-treaters. The first year we were here, got such good jokes. I didn't know this was a thing. In where I used to live in England, the jokes was not such a thing. You just had like kind of grumpy kids being like trick or treat and expecting sweets from you, and like that's fine, and I'm thrilled to be there and to be doing that anyway. But apparently, at least where I live in Scotland now, it's like they do a thing, so either they have like a little song or it's my version of caroling. One, kids in costumes singing a funny little song, and that's amazing. So yeah, what was the best one? The best one was, why was the paint sad? Because it was feeling emotional. 10 out of 10. Amazing. What? I don't think the child knew what the joke meant. But the dad was at the end of the path being like, I was like, you sir nailed this. Like tiny child, probably like 4. So good. So I'm really, really hoping that I get some tonight. Hence the makeup and the witchy outfit that will be going on afterwards. Yeah, so that's it for me. I love that. Oof, I splotched that a wee bit. Clean brush. Right, how do you connect to the natural world in autumn? I try to remember to go outside, even if it's just going into my garden. I like taking lots of photos so that when I'm less inclined to leave the house, I can still look at nature, and I like being able to see the progression of the seasons and like the shifts and the change even like week to week, because we've had these big storms, I think I already mentioned. Yeah, it's so the difference is quite dramatic week on week. So I try and get out, try and go for a walk, or like walk home from, if I'm like out and about, I try not to like ask someone for a lift or whatever. unless it's pissing down raining. So yeah, that's it mainly. Same as I do all year round. I talk to the fucking birds and hope that my neighbours don't hear me. I talk to the plants, I just talk to all of them. Talk to the river, squirrels, etc. It's lovely. It's the 3rd year in a row that I've like missed the blackberries. Because the main time that I'm like out of the house on like a stretch for walking, I've like just come back from being somewhere where I've like I'm covered in like hand sanitizer and stuff, and you don't really want to be putting that in your mouth. So it's a bit sad, but yeah, next year maybe. Next year. More foraging. Samhain altar costume decorations. Right, okay, well, we're kind of getting there, barely. I said that this would be doing 2 things badly. I've got 2 candles. This is my altar costume decorations. I will try and remember to put pictures up of the stuff that I've like painted on the house. But like this is my... Yeah, this doesn't have a flat base, so I really don't know how you're supposed to use this. But yeah, gorgeous from Candles in the Moon. I need to like melt some more of it so that it stands up. That's a fire hazard. And then I've got this lovely one which has a little kind of skull, charmy guy, and I love them. I thought they were unscented. The black one is... So this is an ancestor candle. They're both from Candles in the Moon. They're on Instagram. They're really gorgeous. I didn't think that they would be scented, but there's something about them that smells like, if you know what I mean by blackcurrant chewit, so I guess like blackcurrant sweets or candy. That's kind of what they smell like, which is kind of interesting. I imagine it's just like what the place that they were made in smells like, rather than the things themselves being scented. But yeah, so those are my main like kind of altar-y decorations this year. I generally just get like a nice black candle. I usually get them from the place I get all of my beeswax candles that I don't make myself, Sacred Moon candles on Etsy. But yeah, these are from a new place. Recommendation from the very lovely Tegan Cosmic Creeper Tube. Yeah, gorgeous. Very excited to find a way to safely burn those later. A Samhain craft, divination method or spell. So I've got some decks. Probably going to try and do some tarot later. Because also we're at the new moon, which always feels like a good time. So I'll probably read the chapter of the new moon magic book tonight. And then I've also got the mini Divi ghosts from Holly Oddly, which is super weird if you've like not seen them. Like the name mini Divi suggests that they're gonna be like cute. Some of these are like harrowing. I think they're very cool. I took them with me to the Samhain market that I did, and I didn't crack them out. I've reached the point where I think I'm like basically superstitious about the deck that I use. Oh, who was that on the box? Forest Spirit. Seek nature and in turn it will make you grow in the best ways. Wasn't that what I was talking about? So, yeah. I've like reached a point where it's not quite superstitious, just a little suspicious. But it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. I also took the Talisman Oracle, which is really fun but smells really bad because it's that like sticky cardstock. They're just really simple, like line drawn illustrations of talismans, and then it's good for reading intuitively, but then there are also like little guide cards to go with them, so I like that. I think it works quite seasonally. Yeah, it smells really bad, and like I've had the cards out to try and like air them and it still smells bad, and it just made my room smell bad. And then the final classic, obviously, the Halloween tarot, which again I took with me to the market and I didn't use it. I don't know why. It's so cute. I mean, you've seen this. This is mass market. It's a classic. It's been out for years at this point. It comes in a tin size. It's by US Games, but it's like it's been really well thought out. Like in terms of Smithwaite dupes, it's or clones or whatever. It's not. Some of them are just like kind of redrawings for the sake of them, and then this one has like thought has gone into it in terms of the details. So that's it. I got to get everything. The Samhain market I did. I also got this, and I want to do like a witchy gift guide, small business video. Soon for like people shopping. I chipped him. No. But yeah, so it was a pyrographer. Made this little bat. And he's a gorgeous little pendulum. I mean, he's a necklace, but he's a pendulum. And I think he's amazing. I love him so much. And the person who made them really, really lovely. So, yeah, I want to do a video about small businesses. For doing your festive shopping and whatnot. But yeah, I love him. He's very precious and important. And we love a pendulum as a divination method. Favourite recipes. There is a book called The Witch's Kitchen. A kitchen grimoire, maybe. The Witch's Cookery. No, that's the YouTube channel. She's lovely. I love her. Really like her videos. She was the first place I ever heard the term crotch goblins, which will never not make me laugh. I'll try and put a picture up on the screen, and I'll be good, and I'll remember to put it in the description box what the fuck it is I'm talking about. So, black underneath. Yeah, I really like that book. The recipes for, I mean, they're mostly for like the autumn equinox. I think they do the solstices and the equinoxes. Are like the 4 feasts at the end. But I think there are some spooky season recipes as well. And I've really enjoyed doing those around this time of year. I also love anything appley, I've mentioned. And like making caramel or butterscotch to dip apples in. So like cheats toffee apple, because it's easier. There's less chance of you hurting yourself. And you get much more like toffee in the toffee to apple ratio, because I think that's the bane of so many children's life, is the delicious and wonderful idea of a toffee apple, and then you eat all the toffee off, and then you've just got an apple on a stick. And I love apples. We've discussed this, but I appreciate that for children it's like not as fun to just have like an apple on a stick when you could have like apple slices, dunk them in caramel. Delicious. This wasn't as messy as I thought it was going to be. It's also not as creative as it was going to be. I had plans to do like cobwebs. That may still happen, but just not while I'm talking, apparently. So, favourite recipes we've discussed. What traditions or rituals do you practice during Samhain? We've already talked about the Samhain Fire Festival, which I'm not going to because I want to see the trick-or-treaters, and I don't want to be cold. I'm a wimp, what can I say? My commitment to the craft is not necessarily as strong as my commitment to not being cold. Rituals. I like a candle, generally a black candle. Spend some time with it. I'm quite a sort of twitchy person around like fireworks and stuff, so often my actual routine for this time of year is to plug myself into some kind of computer game, so I can't hear the fireworks going off in my residential area, the inevitable ambulance sirens afterwards. And so that is my actual routine, burning a black candle, playing something like Unpacking. Such a great game. But I will be hopefully playing the new spooky Sims expansion pack tonight. Becoming the Grim Reaper, etc. That feels like a devotional activity to me. Playlists or soundscapes? I have 2 playlists that I've just put on my Substack, but I will link them below if you can do that on YouTube. One is my friend Laura's October playlist in general, and the other is Isha the Activist Witch and their partner's witchy playlist, and both are perfect, quite frankly. I quite like the idea of soundscapes though. What would a sound... Oh, say that 10 times quickly. Soundscape. Soundscape. Like creaking doors and ghosties and kind of zombie moans and I don't know. Right, reflect on your harvest. What lessons, skills, or experience have you reaped? I suppose in the last year. So since last November, what have I done? Well, mostly this channel. There's like 500 of you subscribers, which is fucking wild. I know that's like small potatoes in terms of YouTube, like success or whatever, but I mean, it's a lot of fucking people. I said it in my my year on TarotTube video. Like, I don't remember the last time I was in a room with 500 people. Certainly not since COVID. Like, it just wouldn't happen. So, I mean, that in terms of skills and experiences, this has been great. I've been continuing my sort of tarot business, if you can call it that, like doing tarot readings professionally. I need to try and wrap this up. In terms of doing tarot readings professionally, I've been continuing doing that, which has been lovely. I've done a counselling skills course this year. I've made friends, some of whom are like tarot community friends, which is really lovely. Like, that's been the biggest boon of making these videos, is like being able to be more involved in this community and like making proper friends through it, which again, I already talked about this in my channelversary video, but it's bananas. It makes me very happy and very grateful. Yeah, we are just putting black eyeshadow in my eyebrows today. If there was every day for it. Having like bold brows is my like primary source of gender euphoria, so I'm leaning into it today. I'm gonna have a great time. And yeah, what else? I've been doing a lot more like parts work in therapy. So that's like therapy around the internal family systems model by Richard Schwartz, which has been really interesting. Kind of sad, but really interesting, and like has been a bit of a gear shift. And I know that Kellyanne Maddox has talked about parts work, and Brian Cormac Carr has, or used to have, some stuff about using the IFS model to look at the court cards, which is a course that he did bring back fleetingly, and I managed to get hold of it, but have I done it yet? No, I've not. And so that's interesting, but I also want to kind of put a little bit of my own spin onto some of that stuff, so that's something that I will either write or make a video about at some point in the next time. At some point. Lesson, skills, experiences have you reaped? Yeah, I mean, not to get like heavy with it, I guess, but I've been in, well, it's kind of an interesting thing. One way of looking at it is that I've been in like really deep autistic burnout since the very, very beginning of 2017. The other way of looking at it is effectively that I burned out so horrifically in 2017, or the end of 2016, what a year that was, that while I'm maybe not burned out anymore, I will never be the same as I was pre-Devon Price. That's their name, isn't it? Dr. Devon Price. Maybe? Anyway, you know who I mean. I'll do a back description box than I usually do. Did a Substack article recently about how the title is something as confronting as "you may never recover from burnout" or something, and I got it as a push notification on my phone, and I went, fuck off, I know. And it's a really great article. It's a really, really good article, and about the grief and the fact that the person that you are post burnout may never be the person that you were before. And you know that is kind of part of the human experience of shifting and changing, and we aren't the same person that we were a week ago or a month ago, because we've had experiences and whatnot, but like this specific thing to like really severe sort of like clinical burnout or autistic burnout. And yeah, it kind of made me maybe see things a little bit differently, and that maybe I'm not burnt out anymore, but I'm very, very different from the person that I was before it happened. And so in terms of recovery, it's quite hard to really picture, because recovery suggests a return of a sort, and that's not on the cards really. It's about finding a new way to be and a new way to live, and what my capabilities are now and what my limitations are now, and effectively learning to live with that. And that's really fucking hard. In terms of energy levels, in terms of brain capacity, in terms of skills and skill loss, and independence, and all of these sorts of things. It's fucking griefy. But also in the last year, as the years prior, there's been a sense of kind of like settling into, and I know that this is a phrase that we all fucking love by now, of like the new normal, and just kind of learning what that looks like in a way that doesn't feel like I'm kind of like constantly reaching and striving for something that doesn't really exist anymore, in terms of my like pre-burnout life. Because it's like, either I see it as I've been burnt out for 8 years, or I see it as like a new chapter or something. So that's kind of where I'm at, I guess, is that this has been a year of, I'm not like back to where I was, but also I may never go back, and kind of learning to be okay with that, and learning how to have a life that satisfies me anyway. Keep it light, Richard, keep it light. Hey, it's Samhain. If you can be a little bit dark at any point, surely 'tis the season. But yeah, that's the truth of it. It's just like learning how to manage, trying to figure out what kind of life I can have now. What hopes and aspirations will you set for the new witch's year, or the witch's new year? To keep doing more of that, keep figuring out what my place is in the world now that my capacity has changed so dramatically. Grieving the loss of the things that used to be kind of my identity, in terms of like intelligence and reliability, almost, of like the idea that like never breaking a promise, never, if I said I'm going to do something, then like always showing up and always doing the thing, and like learning to be less rigid, I guess, about that, and learning that it's like, being less literal, being less rigid. Autism, lol. But so just doing that, keeping this channel going if I can, keeping my like tarot community building going, and then hopefully sort of incidentally remembering that it would be quite nice to make some money from reading tarot professionally and stuff. But that always just has to be a lower priority, because the likelihood of it is like lower, isn't it? Maybe. Or maybe I'm just being pessimistic, I don't know. So like keeping doing events, keeping my kind of, sort of spiritual witchy practice going in a way that works for me, not getting caught up in what other people's practices look like and what I feel like I should be doing or shouldn't be doing, or that kind of stuff, and just continuing to sort of like carve out. I'm definitely shaking the camera by trying to clean my brush off. Good job. Just keeping going with what I've been doing. Past couple of years, at the end of the calendar year, I've used Benabel Wen's, because I had her journal thing a couple of years ago, and she has some really good prompts for kind of resolutions. And also Sylvia Tarot Magpie has in her 2-card spread scene, I think, one which is like more of this, less of this, or less of this, more of this. And like that, I suppose it's kind of like when people started doing those like out and in lists. I'm really just rambling there. What hopes do I have? Keeping going, showing up, doing what I can. Staying informed, staying engaged, even when it's really fucking hard. You just want to like bury your head in the sand and pretend that it doesn't affect you. It's yeah, I am just fully like accentuating the dark circles. You've got to lean into it. Yeah, just trying to keep going. Speaking of keeping going and showing up, in my description box there is always a link to the current like fundraising thing currently, which is for Palestine Part 2 is rolling. There's a fucking amazing raffle happening for every £5 donated to Kutches to Gaza, a mutual aid grassroots group out of Cardiff who are helping evacuees and refugees from Gaza get settled in Cairo, and also when the border crossing opens, like doing like evacuation funds and stuff. If you are feeling as helpless and hopeless as is perfectly reasonable to be feeling, there's something you can do is donate either financially, or if you have something to donate to the raffle, it's like digital prizes so that it can be opened internationally without having to worry about shipping. And if you can't donate, share. Maybe someone else can come back to it. The raffle's going to be in like January. You've got loads of time, but just don't forget. And I mean, how the fuck could you? How the fuck could you? Anyway, this is getting fucking dark, and I've been talking for an hour. Good job. This is going to be a bitch to edit. I've not even done my makeup. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. You are wonderful and amazing. And if you like this video, you could give it a thumbs up. You could even consider subscribing if that feels good to you. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.